Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
How would you like to achieve the first million? Today we have special guest from Philadelphia. His name is Nick, and he's the CEO of IdeaScale. So Nick, tell us, what are the 5 steps to make your first million?
Sure, I'll give 5 a piece of advice. First is be ready to hustle and work really hard, right? I work 80, 100 hours a week. You got to be ready to do that. If you're not, number 2, then it's going to be really hard. Number 2, think very critically about where your product adds value. Whatever you're selling, whether it be a service, whether it be a shoe, whether it be, I sell very, very expensive software to large organizations. Think about how your product creates value for your customer. And if you don't have a good answer for that, and that they can even answer in 3 or 4 seconds, you don't have a great product. Number 3, reach out to people and network and talk to everyone, even somebody that you can't sell to something to today. Go build those relationships, because they may not, because if they know you, they may call you up in a few months and say, hey, I've got an idea. People love to help other people. You should get ahead of that. Number 4, be and live your product. One of the things I learned the hard way, so I'm a professional CEO. I've run a bunch of different companies. It took me a long time to figure out that I, as CEO, need to live and embody my product. I need to be up there, up front, the face of the company. I can't be in the background. And number 5, get a team. No matter how good you are, no matter how smart you are, no matter how hard you work, no one person is capable of doing everything themselves. You have limitations, either because you need sleep or because you may be great at engineering and you're bad at marketing, or vice versa. Get a team who supplements your strengths and weaknesses.
That's fantastic, Nick. And let's dig in, because, okay, a lot of people have ideas, and everybody think that all the ideas are good and they're good business idea, regardless that in order to have a business, you do need an idea. So tell us what is a good business idea? What are the fundamentals? What are the verticals? What is a good idea in business? Because a lot of people come to me all the time, Harry, I have this idea. This idea is amazing. This idea is going to work. Ideas everybody have. Now, a good idea is completely different ball game. So can you tell us a little bit more, what are the basis of a very good business idea?
Sure. It's funny that you ask me that, because my company IdeaScale literally helps large organizations generate a whole bunch of ideas and then separate the good ideas from the bad ideas. So I do this for huge organizations, Pfizer, NASA, Comcast, whatever, right? Wow. All over the so it's funny that you asked me about ideas. So firstly, let's start with saying ideas are important. Before you have a business, before you have a product, somebody has to have the idea. Okay. Number 2, in school, they tell you there's no such thing as stupid questions. That's not true. There are stupid ideas, and there's good ideas and there are bad ideas. And it's important to distinguish between good ideas and bad ideas. So let's ignore the bad ideas, because it's not valuable to say this is an idea stupid, because then you don't actually have an idea to build a business or a product. So how do you figure out what are the good ideas? I think good ideas have a few characteristics. Number 1, they're doable, right? If you have a product that takes 100 years and costs $4 trillion, it may get us to the next black hole, but it's not doable. We will all be dead and gone by then. So pick something that is actually buildable, doable in the real world with the resource constraints that you have in front of you. Number 2, does the product and business model make money? A lot of entrepreneurs have great ideas, but they don't actually know whether the business makes money. And a funny example of this is, if you started a restaurant selling really high-end steak for €5 or $5, you'll get lots of customers in the door, but you will lose money doing that, right? Because the steak costs you $30 to buy at the butcher, and then you have to spend and tell a chef to cook it for $10 or $20 an hour, whatever it is. That steak costs you $50 to make, and you're selling it for $5. You will lose money. And this is something we learned in Wall Street. So I spent most of my career in Wall Street as a professional investor. There's so many businesses that are bad businesses because their owners and leaders have not thought through, does this business work? Sit down with a spreadsheet or a piece of paper and figure out what your costs are, what your revenues are, what price your customers are reasonably willing to pay before you go start that business. That 5-minute exercise will save you years of your life and lots of people laughing at you. Because any venture capitalist, if you ever go to a venture capitalist, they're going to do this really well. That's what I used to do for a living. And if you can't explain very clearly and in a right way why your business makes money, you will either they will not give you money, or B, your business will eventually fail. And finally, a good idea is something that plays to your strengths. If you're an entrepreneur founder, ultimately, as I said earlier, you're going to be the face of your company. You're going to be out there selling. You're going to be out there building the product. You're going to be living and breathing your product. If that product or service doesn't play to your strengths as an individual, then the product is going to suffer from the same weaknesses. So a good idea necessarily plays to your strengths. So for example, I'm a very math-oriented guy. I love math. So any product or technology or service that involves a lot of math is probably good business for me to be in. If however I was running an art company, or where you're designing music or you're painting paintings or designing movies, I'd be really bad at that. So for me, any movie idea is a bad idea. For you, a movie idea may be a great idea. But I know for me, that's not where my strengths are. And so therefore my weaknesses will pollute that idea.
Yeah, but let's talk about Nick, because I have. Let me tell you a few of my terrible ideas. Yeah, I have.
We all.
Yeah. I won't tell you too much, otherwise I will depress you. Yeah, you will cry there. But I have one business idea, that I wanted to open the first halal Spanish restaurant in London. Yeah. And I actually did it, yeah. And guess what happened? The idea was so good that I lost 200,000 and 2 years of my life. My girlfriend, the girlfriend that I had back in the day, I also lost her. It was a total disaster. So I learned a big lesson about ideas, yeah, which is a little bit like what you're sharing, yeah. Number one, yeah. A lot of people, when they came, I have this unique idea. Well, I think that the number one in the unique idea sometimes is a little bit risky, because maybe nobody's done it before because there is no demand for it. Yeah. I mean, if the idea is very good and no one had done it, I mean, you can have a unicorn there, but there is a flip side, and I live the flip side, and it's hard. Yeah. And what happened was there was too early the idea, right? So I run the restaurant in Brick Lane, which is the Curry House Street in London, and which they are all curry restaurants from Bangladesh, India, and so on. So I thought that was a good idea to bring alternative food to this emblematic road in London, which is Brick Lane. But what happened? What happened is I was very early. It was very new. The community, they were not used to have Spanish halal food. And the time that took to educate the community, the restaurant business, as you described, runs a lot of operation, a lot of overheads and so on. So what happened is that the market adoption was really slowly and expensive, to the point that I have to close. However, guess what happened? As soon as I left, now 50% of Brick Lane is alternative food. Yeah. So I have a friend that wants to do a documentary for me. Once upon a time in Brick Lane, they want to put it, talking about my brilliant idea about the restaurant. So the idea, if I come to you, then Nick, I have a brilliant idea. I'm gonna do the first unique halal restaurant in Brick Lane. Nobody done it before. I'm gonna bring alternative food. This have a lot of logic. Why everybody selling the same thing? If I sell something alternative, gonna win. And I can tell you this idea. And maybe you can tell Harry, hold on, slow down. You think that is good, but it's not as good as it thinks. Yeah. So. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a bad idea. I would say, so again, I believe hugely in the power of experimentation. I'd say, rather than opening a full restaurant, let's start with a food cart.
Yeah.
That costs you nothing. And if it sucks, you can shut it down. You're down $10,000 in 2 years.
I agree. Yes,
So
it was another house another guy in the corner. He was selling Italian coffee, and he was making a lot, only selling coffee. he was telling me, Harry, people come here and spend 10 pounds per day in coffee. So in the morning, afternoon, so he was making 10 pounds per day for one client. So he was from Italy, was in the corner with the very tiny shop. And then I was in the middle of Brick Lane with the big restaurant. And then, but now, like I said, 50% of the street have changed. So I think that this is what the market demands. But there is always someone that had to go first, I think, or somebody that have to mark the trend. And then, and if you ask me now, I prefer that somebody goes earlier and then I go after because it's expensive. Another brilliant idea that I have once is I open a career advice business. And the idea was great. And we were helping people to find a job. Yeah. But when I go and check the account, I said, where is the money? I said, well, they just find jobs. So now they have to pay the rent. They have to pay this. They have to pay that. So you have to wait to get paid. So it sounds a good idea, but when you bring it to practice, it has some challenges. So I like what you said about experimentation. Can you expand a little bit more on that? Because I think that this is my issue with the ideas, that I have the idea and I build a whole business around the thing. I go a little bit crazy and maybe way too fast. Yeah, the people that know me, they say that I'm the king of speed of implementation. When I move really, really fast, and sometimes that could be counterproductive. Correct?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I'll give you a quick explanation of like taking experiments. So I'll start with a theory. So there's this theory in economics called real options theory, which is you should never be making big decisions in life, in business or et cetera. What you want to do is make small decisions that give you the option to make big decisions later in life. So it's not like you meet a wonderful woman or a wonderful man and you marry them right away. You go on a first date, you treat them really nicely. You may not like them for that second date, but because you treated them really nicely, you've given yourself the option for that second date or that third date or eventual marriage, right? The same shit is true that's called real options theory, that you make small decisions that give you the potential opportunity to make big decisions later on in life. The same is true in business, right? The right way to make big business decisions is not to make big business decisions. That's actually, if you go look at the theory in business, what McKinsey puts out, what Harvard Business School puts out, what academics and PhDs have been putting out, that's a terrible way to make decisions. What you do is you buy a real option. So you run a small experiment. And what that experiment does is, number one, it reduces your risk. You didn't risk 2 years of your life or $200,000 or 200,000 euros or pounds or whatever, right? You risked a small amount of money to open up a shopping cart. But secondly, you get two things for it. Number one is you collect data on whether the idea is good or bad fundamentally, right? And you can make changes. If you set up a big restaurant and buy $1 million of decorations, it's really hard to change the decorations, but if you buy a small shopping cart and you realize, wait, everything's right, but I just need to flavor it differently, you throw out your old spices and you buy new spices for your hot dog or for your burger or whatever, right? Or your Italian coffee or your Spanish halal food. So and by the way, if you fail, it's okay. You learn something from that failure, and that makes you smarter for that next decision. So I'll give a real example from how we run IdeaScale. We run lots of different marketing campaigns, for example. Actually, let's use product. We're a software company. We launch lots of features. We know some of those features are going to be terrible and people are going to hate them. And so after we put them out to market, we shut them off. And whatever, it didn't hurt us because we put out 20 features and customers loved 2 of them, 12 were good, and 5 sucked, and we shut them off. But none of those the features that we lost or that we put out and our customers hated make the company go bankrupt. None of them really piss off our customers. They're just not as good as they could be. And that's how you're supposed to make good decisions. That means every day you get smarter as an individual and as a business, and you never risk losing years of your life or having to fire people or and then on the flip side, when the experiment is going well, what you do is you put more gas on the fire. You say, like, this is going well. So instead of one food cart, I'm going to have 10 of them. You go really aggressively. So when things are going right at IdeaScale, like a marketing campaign or new product, we do a lot more of it really quickly.
Yeah, I want to point out something that you say, Nick, because from all the business idea that I had that went well, I have my property business. We managed to sell over 5 million doing this. and then I was renting rooms, yeah. And then the first client come, yeah. I opened the door. I said, "This is the room. Do you want to rent it?" And the guy said, "You know, the room needs a little bit of painting. Yeah, it's a little bit dark, a little bit. No, no, no. I'm not gonna take it." So the guy left, and I went there and said, "Oh, so I buy paint and I paint the room myself, yeah." And so then I have a second viewing, and then I bring a girl, and I open the door to a girl and said, "Look, this is the room. Do you want to rent it? Look, it's clean, painted, nice, right?" And then the guy said, "Yeah, it's painted, but it's a little bit cold. If you have a painting, a little bit of flower or something, the room is too cold." So the girl left. I went to IKEA and I bought a painting in black and white. I bought a duvet cover that was pink, red, and orange, really live. And I think that for £1 in the corner shop, I bought a flower thing, and I put it there. Guess what happened? The third girl came. I opened the door and I said, "Do you want this room to rent?" And the girl said, "Yes." So it's exactly 100% what you're saying, right? Sometimes the product, your idea, is not what you want, it's what the clients want to buy. And the more data you collect about what they want to buy, the more you can repurpose the product exactly to their needs. If I take this room and I start to do things there without even know what the client want, maybe I spend I don't know, 50K fixing the house and still the room will be empty because we have to listen what the clients want. And exactly what you said, collecting data, you can report, because from all the multimillionaires that I interview in this podcast, yeah, so far, no one has told me, "Harry, my initial idea was exactly what the client wanted to buy." No one. So, no, yet. They try to find one person that tell me, "No, no, I thought about this," and the people start to buy exactly like this. It's always you have like a type of idea, like you said, but it's actually your client to shape your idea. Now, Nick, I have a question for you because of your background, which is the $1 million question. Yeah. The question is the following: can you raise money, venture capitalist, VC money, or funding, seed funding, or whatever, only with what idea? Even if you have, let's suppose that you have a clear vision, a clear understanding of that idea, and can you raise money only with a piece of paper? Yes, no, or why? What's your opinion?
I say no. I think you could have done that 5 years ago when the venture capital market was a lot hotter.
Wow,
Today,
before was possible.
before it was possible, there were lots
Wow.
of companies before that only had, mock-ups or ideas. And if you were good at speaking and you were connected and you were willing to talk to a lot of venture capitalists, somebody would say yes, right? Today, I think, over the last 4 or 5 years, especially since around 2021 or 2022, the venture capital market, both for software and more generally, has cooled down quite a bit. And so venture capitalists, I think, are being a lot more diligent and rigorous on demanding that the businesses that they invest in are not just ideas run by 22-year-olds who think they're the smartest things ever, but by people who actually have a real business plan and have a proof of concept of a product and at least a little bit of revenue. Maybe not a lot of revenue, but I think there's a lot more emphasis that, hey, prove to me that someone's willing to pay for this. Because that's
A bit of
really hard. I
traction,
think
yeah.
people right? I'm brilliant. I may have lots of great ideas, but if I can't come up with a product that someone else is willing to buy, I don't have a business. And I think the venture capital market realized that there were a lot of these companies that sounded really good on paper and they gave money to and they lost money because of it. So now they're demanding that, there's a little bit more proof that there's something there.
I agree 100% with you. Yeah. But then, Nick, we have on the other side, for the founders, we talk and have a lot of tech entrepreneurs. Um, for the founders now, it's a little bit tough, no? Because they have, especially if you have a tech company like you, for example, now if you want funding, you have to have an MVP, you need to have a traction, you have to develop the software, which it costs a lot of money. So, what is the ideal formula that you advise to all tech entrepreneurs out there, that they are tech founders that want to develop the company and grow and get some funding, yeah, what would be the secret sauce that they need to do? Let's say that they don't have a lot of resources, yeah. What's the secret sauce that they need to do, these tech entrepreneurs, in order to move forward and find funding?
Sure. So I'll give an answer that you may or may not like, but I think it's the honest truth,
I
right?
like all
For
your
most of
answers.
the
I
last,
think you're very clever. I think you're very clever. So go for
thank
it.
you. Okay. So, look, for most of the last 100 years, when someone wanted to start a business, how did they do it? They worked their butts off in a real job till they were 40 or 50
Absolutely.
years old. They earned a
100.
bit of money where they were safe, and then they would take a risk in their life, right? Their kids are gone to college or, grown up. They've saved a bit of money. They've worked their butts off for somebody else for 30 or 40 years. Or they're working a job during the day and then coming up with something cool at night, right? Where they're working kind of a second job or doing their entrepreneurial venture on the side. What in America we now call the side hustle. It is only the last 10 or 20 years where a 22-year-old with no experience could drop out of
Absolutely.
college, say like, I have an idea. That is a crazy period in history. Like a good example of this is NVIDIA. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yes,
NVIDIA
I'm familiar.
and
100%. Yeah.
TSMC, right? The
A
founders of these
trillion,
companies,
it
which are
was
now
a trillion now, right? NVIDIA.
yeah, exactly. So the way that and the story is somewhat similar for both of those founders, both for NVIDIA and for TSMC. They built successful careers at other companies where they were already had made a bunch of money. They'd already proven they were really good. And sometime in their 30s and 40s, they were like, okay, I built myself a career, and now I'm going to go do something, amazing. And they start, I think TSMC started out when this guy was in his 40s or 50s, right? And I
So
forget,
they
I
have
think
a
for
lot of
NVIDIA,
experience,
it was in
right?
his late 30s. Yeah, they had a lot of experience, but also they'd made a bunch of money so they could take that risk in life where they could say, look, I've made, $100,000 that I've saved away. I'm going to spend my $100,000 building this product. So I think the reality of the world is what people have gotten used to over the last 10 or 12 years, where you could have no experience, an idea on a piece of paper, and some venture capitalists would throw money at you. That was an extraordinary period in history, and it's
But
great
it's
if you could take
gone.
advantage of it. But that's not how the world has worked for most of history. So my recommendation for people is honestly like, number one, realize that this is how the world works. We may not like it, but this is how the world works. Not most people don't have $1
Absolutely.
million lying in the bank around to go do an entrepreneurial venture. I don't, right? Number two, like go find a job, develop useful skills, not just earn money, but develop useful skills that you probably don't have when you're 21 or 22 years old. And number three is build your entrepreneurial venture on the side, work the excess hours that you need to. Like if you need to code your project yourself or build a product yourself. Like a fun example is a friend of mine owns a drink company, a healthy juice company, right? And he would brew this in his garage while working. He was working for some tech company. He hated it, right? He hated his tech job, but he was really passionate about health food, like juice. So he'd come home every night and brew this special juice in his garage, tried various experiments, and on the weekends he would go out to Whole Foods and the local grocery stores and convince them to try and buy his juice, right? That's how he got his entrepreneur. And the guy now runs I think he's got like $50 million dollars in annual sales.
Wow.
The way he did it was going back to the very first question you asked me, what are the important things for entrepreneur? I said hustle, working really hard. He was working his 40 to 60 hour high power tech job where he worked really hard, but then taking all of that and then going home and still working more on his side hustle, which is now an extraordinarily successful business. That's how he did it. He didn't have to eat, not a lot of resources, right? He had a garage and he bought a bunch of fruit and would brew it in his garage. And that's not uncommon. That's how a lot of really successful entrepreneurs get started. Again, the last 10 or 12 years were a really weird period in history. They may or may not come back, but that's not how most billionaires became billionaires.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And I think that even that's how I built my business. I had to work like 12 to 14 hours. I remember I used to wake up with my computer in my lap, and then I have to go and work and then build my business on the side. That's how I did it. So I think that and a lot of people tell me, when I said about tech businesses, they tell me, well, Harry, tech businesses is different than other business. Tech business, because we have different valuation, different thing. But let me tell you something. The more I see tech business, the more they are more similar to real business. I think that I agree with you 100% that those times are gone. It's true, there was a period of time that you would go with a piece of paper, talk to a VC and whatever, and you will have the money, yeah? And that become kind of a common practice. But a lot, like you said, a lot of them lost money in the process, and now they are more conscious about the business side, or if it really, yeah. I think that we saw those unicorns on the tech boom, you know, like Spotify, the Facebook, the Google, the Microsoft, and so on. And it was that period that Amazon and so on. So it was that period that a lot of people thought that, oh, all the ideas can become a unicorn, and okay, let me try to put a bit of money here. Or it was like an idea that the venture capitalist said, okay, you know what, I'm gonna put money in 10 of these companies because 9, 8 is gonna fail, one is gonna break even, but those one that wins is gonna make up for all the losses. I think that now they are more and more and more savvy. They really are checking the skills of the entrepreneurs and if they are actually entrepreneurs and they can actually run a business. Yeah. But Nick, let me ask you something. Why do you have a beautiful corporate life that they will pay you a lot of money and you were very comfortable? What made you think that it was a good idea to live this comfortable life, to become a CEO of several companies, which is, I'm being CEO, or so I'm actually tired of being CEO, which is something that it takes a lot of responsibility and you have to be on top of the game all the time. Why make you move from comfortable life to become a CEO of a company which is nothing but comfortable?
Yeah, so look, I went to business school at Harvard. I worked in Wall Street, so I had a very nice, fancy job, and most of my classmates
Yeah,
are
you
still
were
in these
making a
amazing
lot of
jobs with.
money. You were making a lot of money. Why? Why
Sure.
you should? Why you should?
And most
Did
of my
anyone in
classmates,
your
by the
family
way,
ask you were crazy?
so maybe I'm a little bit crazy, but look, most of my classmates are still in very nice corporate jobs. They make a ton more money than me, and that's fine, right? So a few reasons. Number one, different things motivate people in life. Money does not motivate me. I spend very little. I eat very cheaply. I drive the cheapest car, the second cheapest car in America. So I don't spend money, so I don't need money, right? Is a good thing. That's good advice in general. If you don't spend money, it makes you so much freer to pursue other actions in life. But secondly, and thinking more proactively, number one, I want to make a difference. If you are a mid-level manager at a giant company, the Disneys and Goldman Sachs, you just don't matter in the grand scheme of things. I want to
I
make a
agree
difference in whatever
100%.
sphere of life. Number two, I like building things. I really like the idea that am helping build IdeaScale into the world's well, we're already the world's largest innovation software company, but I want to be even bigger. I want to be even more relevant to our customers. I like the idea that I create jobs for my employees. That gives me a good feeling that, hey, all these other tech companies have been firing people for the last 2 or 3 years. I've grown my headcount. I have not had layoffs. We've grown.
Wow.
So that feels really good. And then the third thing that really made a difference to me is, well, there's two other things. Number three is that I like what IdeaScale's mission is. We make other companies more innovative, and that's something that just feels exciting to me. I've always liked the idea of the best idea winning, not the loudest person or the most senior person or the person who looks a certain way. And our software makes that powerful. So I feel really good about our product. And then finally, like what is it? I think it's way more exciting to go do this, right? I work an insane amount. I work more hours than I did on Wall Street, right? I work 80, 100 hours a week, in addition to having a family, in addition to playing poker and doing other things in life. But it is cool because I can see the impact of my actions almost every day, right? If I go run a marketing campaign, if I go build a feature, I can get that feedback in a way that you just never know in a real company. You don't know that you made a difference. So that's again, you're absolutely right. I gave up an easier job where I sit in an air-conditioned office, make a bunch more money, and that's in fact what all my friends are doing. And like, they all drive nicer cars than me, right? But I'm happy and I make a difference. And hey, look, if things go well at IdeaScale, I'll be running $1 billion company in a few years. And that could be pretty fun
Absolutely.
too.
Absolutely. The thing is that, what the journey as an entrepreneur is different, but when it works, it's amazing. Yeah. And but the thing is like, I think us entrepreneurs, we are wired in a different way. There is always, there is a type of gene inside us that we feel really deep, that we want to make a difference. We want to make a difference in people's life. And I can tell about how passionate about you talk about your company, that when you're working in your company, it doesn't feel like working. You love that thing, I can tell. And, when you are excited and passionate about it, yeah, you will tell everyone, right? And you're very confident about your product. And so basically, you are like not working, because I remember when you're passionate about your business, when you're passionate about you of course you're working, but the time passes and you feel that you're not working. The second thing, and this is the reality, is that in corporate job, one day you won't be needed anymore. And then the thing becomes a problem, because the government sector or the whatever, they have a specific knowledge in a very specific field. And if they lose that job and they are a little bit overage, it's gonna be tough to find something else. And this is the reality. Yeah, corporate, they try to keep you comfortable and happy as much as they can, but when they don't need you, they don't need you. And this, however, on the other hand, look at you, CEO of several companies. You know how many skills you're developing, because if you're a CEO of a company, you have to know about marketing, about sales, about accounts, about everything, about how to hire the right people, about team building, leadership. Every day, the learning curve never ends. And I think it's a lot of growth as a person. Yeah. So, and then don't worry, those friends that are driving nicer car than you, yeah, maybe they will need job from you at some point in the future. Yeah. And just to say, and this is how is life. The truth is that, if you are in the company, you are in control. Yeah. And you getting priceless skill set, like we discussed. So the other question I want to ask you is, if somebody likes what they listening about the ideas and everything, we want to know a little bit more how your product works. And if somebody listening to this podcast want to give it a try, how the process work, can you tell us a little bit more about all this?
Sure. So the company's name is IdeaScale. Our software first is totally free for any organization less than 100 people. So whether you're a solopreneur with like just a Gmail address, or you are a small or mid-sized organization, just go to ideascale.com, click get started free. Software's totally free. If you're larger than that, you can still use our software for free. We'll just charge you once you hit 100 people. So you can use it for 99 people. So here's what our software does.
What it does, yeah.
We are the Yeah.
Tell us.
We are the leading, we're the largest innovation software company in the world. And what we do is we help large organizations innovate. So let's imagine you are a Pfizer or Comcast or Total in France, right? They're really good at whatever they do, whether that be taking oil out of the ground or making new financial products or new drugs. But they're already doing that today. What do they need to do tomorrow? What new product do they need to develop, or how do they become more efficient internally? What should their new company mascot be? What should they innovate for tomorrow? So what our products, or our suite of products, do is they help you solve that problem. So our flagship product, called IdeaScale, which we've been in business 15 years now, it helps you talk to all of your employees and your customers, get their ideas all in one place. So you can like collect ideas from every single employee in your company, or every single customer, which could be thousands or millions of people. Collect those ideas, and then like a social network, you upvote and downvote ideas. So almost think of it like the best ideas go to the top. So you see the best TikTok video or the best Instagram, because their algorithm figures out which ideas are good, because some people like and dislike and view. Imagine doing that for ideas, where you have 1,000 ideas. Some are good, some are bad. but then the community of people vote and upvote and downvote the ideas till the best ideas get to the top. And then you as a CEO or you as a senior leader in the company know, hey, here's the 5 ideas that could be killer products or killer features or fun snacks in the kitchen or a new holiday trip, whatever topic needs ideas. That could be, again, something as serious as your new product to something as silly as what can of soda should I have in the office. That can all be done with our software. We also have a couple other pieces of software, such as a whiteboarding software. We're launching some new AI qualitative data analytics software that helps you generate better ideas. But the core software really helps you collect these ideas, figure out which are good and bad, and then turn the best ideas into reality. And again, you could do this whether you're a 1-person organization or obviously if you're, if you're a 1,000-person or 100,000-person organization, you should definitely come to us. That's my customers. We're really good at it. We've been around for 15 years. I've got hundreds of major organizations being our customers.
Well, the product is brilliant. I love it. I love it. I'll tell you why. Yeah, because when it comes to ideas, you have to actually listen to everyone. Because sometimes, especially in the last organization, you don't have time to listen. But let me tell you a story. I think that it's the cone of ice cream. You know the cone of ice cream? They were debating in an ice cream company, right? That it was a huge problem because they were selling ice cream in tubs, and the taps were making the city dirty. Yeah. So it was in the brainstorm, all the executive for the ice cream. They were brainstorming about the ideas. So what we should do, shall we put more people to sweep the floor? Can we do this? They were looking for a lot of solutions because the whole taps were making the city really dirty, and the ice cream company is trying to solve this problem. And it was and the cleaner comes and he was cleaning the office where the brainstorm was going around. And after everybody said 100 of ideas and their opinion, the whatever, the cleaner finished clean, and before he left, before he closed the door, he told them, "Why you don't eat it?" And this is how the cone for the ice cream was born.
That's literally what software does, right? It can be my fault as a janitor. He still's got good ideas, right? Like ideas. Yeah, it doesn't. Great ideas don't just come from the CEO. In fact, we use our own software, and it's really funny. Sometimes my ideas, I'm the CEO of the company, my ideas get voted down to the bottom. People think they're stupid ideas, and that's okay because the best ideas win, and that's
exactly.
Really powerful.
But can't come from anybody, which is, I think, is a huge problem that we have in all organizations out there. That people think that the best idea will come from management, and like the story that I shared with you. Huge someone that that even is outside to the company, no involved. I mean, it's inside because he cleans the office all the time, so he's listening about the ice creams all the time. He knows the process, he knows everything. But not because he's cleaning the floor is stupid. He also can have an amazing idea.
Exactly.
And it was another one. It was in Nutella, right? I remember the Nutella. They were trying to do they were trying to produce a chocolate that it doesn't melt that much with the heat. Yeah. And they were trying to doing tests with the chocolate and tests with the chocolate, but it was going wrong, and it was creating this paste, of chocolate that was soft and things like that. So what they were doing, they were throwing this paste every day, yeah, and trying to make the thing hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think was the cleaner. They knocked the door to the guys with the experiment and said, "Hi guys, are you gonna throw away this chocolate cream again?" And the guy say, "Well, depends. If it goes wrong, yes, we throw it." And then the guy say, "Okay, everything that goes wrong, give it to us because we're using this paste to put to the bread, to put everything, and this is amazing." And this is how Nutella was born. The guy said, "Look, every time that something goes wrong, don't put it in the bin, give it to us. We're using it to put in the bread, and we're having a blast with all the wrong samples." So the whole point is that big innovations in the world has been done for ideas that sometimes it doesn't come from the CEO or from the management. So I think that's very clever what you create, especially because everybody, let's talk about culture, yeah, which is something that I ask a lot of tech entrepreneurs, yeah, multi-millionaires that they have been in this podcast. I ask them, if you had to start all over again, what are the things that you would do different? And they always telling me, Harry, if I had to start all over again, I will put more attention, more energy, and more resources to culture. Because, when you started that company and the culture that you build in that company, nobody knows that it's gonna cost you 100 times harder than what you thought. But this is what's gonna happen. So if you focus more in culture from the beginning, you can get successful really quickly. And what I like about your software is a very good way to cultivate culture, because everybody's involved in the process. Nobody's left behind, and this is regardless who had the best idea or the bad idea. Like, for example, I think it's amazing for culture that the employees, everybody can vote, even the CEO having a stupid idea, or not. So is build a thing which I think that is key in order to have a successful tech company. Because let me tell you, one out of six people that we interview in this podcast, they are either property investors or tech entrepreneurs. Yeah. And people can have the false misconception, oh, you can make money really easy in tech, or you can make money really easy in real estate. That's not the case. Those that come to these interviews, those who win, the 98 that fail, they don't come to a podcast. And people might have the wrong impression that, it's very easy to make money in tech. It's not, yeah, in my opinion, but it's a lot of hard work, and like in any other business, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
To your point, right? We always hear about the famous tech companies that became where the founders became billionaires or on the TV. You don't see all the 1,000 other companies that failed, right? In my industry, for example, there's like 20 or 30 companies, but many go bankrupt every year because they have not built sustainable businesses. You never hear about their founders. And again, I think we're really, really good. We worked really hard to build a good product, but remember, those are very intelligent people too, and those, so, but you never get to hear about them. You only get to hear about the success. You only, just bluntly, you only get to see guys like me on podcasts or TVs, when there were other people who are, intelligent, well-meaning people. It was really hard to make a business successful, really, really hard. And to continue to scale it over time, whether that be as an active individual effort or as an active collective culture-based effort.
especially when it's tech, yeah. Tech is very dynamic, move really, really fast, so you have to be on point.
No, my software, if my software isn't better in 3 months from now than it is today, my customers will go somewhere else, right? So we were,
Absolutely. So you have to
we run an
continue
innovation.
innovative. Like you said,
Yeah.
I'm launching 20 features and maybe two are good. So you have to continue.
Better than 2. I think like 15 will be good. I think 2 will suck and 3 will be okay. I think we're better than 10%.
Keep trying,
I hope.
because we never know. Same thing, we are. It's not about what we think, it's what the clients really want. And until we don't put several options for them to choose what works for them, we really don't know. We have an idea, we collect data, the more accurate and faster we get to get the client's need with our product, the best. But it's to get the product market fit, which is the first question that I ask you, is you need to be on point, yeah, and awake. So tell us, I think that now a good idea when it comes to productivity, when it comes to product development, when it comes to innovation, a lot of companies fail, or the big organizations, right? Is because they are very slow in the ability to change, right? The response to change is really slow. However, with the platform like this, with the software like that, where everybody can participate, even a company that because it's big and could be slow to change, if everybody, you can collect the opinion of everybody very quickly and process the data very quickly, I think that in your view, do you think that your software can increase the speed of response of change of the company?
Yes, definitionally, right? Again, we're an innovation software company. Innovation is useless if it takes 100 years. Implicit in, not just our software, implicit in anyone who works in the innovation industry, whether you're a consultant, whether you're somebody hiring smart people, you want people who move fast in life, in any aspect of life, right? You don't want somebody who takes 5 years to make a decision. You don't want a piece of software that takes 5 years to achieve a result. The whole point of our software, we say we help you do innovation better, faster, and more systematically, right? The second word is faster. And that is because we get, good ideas eventually make it to the CEO. And in any good organization, right? No matter how big you are, if the idea is good enough, it'll eventually make it from the janitor to the CEO. But that time may take 5 years or 10 years and go through very many meetings.
Absolutely. And then it's no good idea anymore.
No, but it might still be a good idea, but it took 5 years to get there. That's 5 years of missed opportunity. That's 5 years that you could be out there building that product.
5 years that your competitor can actually have ideas and implement it. Yeah?
Our software makes it instantaneous. If the idea is good, it gets in the same system that the CEO's ideas are. It's sitting next to the CEO's ideas, and people are moving it up and voting it up like in real time. So it's not like you have to wait for a weekly report or quarterly report or an annual report. If somebody posts a good idea on IdeaScale today, it takes about less than a week for that idea based on human interaction to float to the top, right? And if your organization has a lot of active participants, it might float to the top in a day. Imagine if you know your janitor's greatest idea, someone sitting on the other side of the world who's got a good idea 24 hours later. That I've seen that happen. That happens in our own company. We're only about 100 people, but if a good idea gets posted today, I'll see it probably tomorrow if it's voted high. All right. That's awesome. Wow. And we go get it done.
Wow.
By the way, going back to your point about culture, there's a positive feedback cycle where if you see a good idea and you get it done really quickly, that employee who submitted that idea realized, hey, these guys care about my ideas, and they're going to submit more good ideas than other people. So there's this positive
absolutely, and he will be more involved in the companies. What we're telling about culture, it will be, sometimes we think that people go and work for the money, right? And this is partially true, but I can tell you from my own experience that people not only go for work for the money, yeah, they need recognition, they need being part of the culture, they need, I'm telling you, because our own employees, I've talked to them all the time, and I'm telling them, man, why are you still here in this company with me? Why are you here? If they can pay you double. You can, with the background, some of them have been working with us for years. They have plenty experience. In our company, you need to, there is no such a thing like this is not my job. Our company, all our employees are 360. They know about everything. They're very clear. We train them very well. And but I'm talking to them and said, so look, why you don't go and work with somebody else? And they always tell me, Harry, that we like to work with you. That's why we are around, we like to stay here, we learn with you, you taught us things, and we are happy here, right? So when it comes to employees, is of course, we give them a lot of participation into a company, they do practically everything, like even this podcast, honestly, I only had to press a button. A lot of production goes after. Don't even ask me what they're doing because I don't know. What I know is I press this record button in this computer, and after 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they're all in Spotify, in Apple, and in our social media, everywhere. They're brilliant, you know what I mean? So, and I think that if people, even if the idea is not good, people can have a sense that they have a say in the company. They have a huge improvement in culture, which have a huge improvement in productivity, which have a huge improvement in the direction that the company is. And And this is something actually that I see as a lot of problem in tech companies, yeah, that they trying to find this magical recipe how to engage and bring culture to the companies. And we have, we have a lot of problems in the tech company, like a lot of boys, male dominated. We have sometimes, uh, there are not too many people from different countries, not enough women, but when you're developing a company, hey, make sure that you have diversity in your tech company. Make sure that you have women in your tech company, because guess what? Your clients, they are all diverse. The people are buying, they are not. They are all diverse. And as soon as they know that there is a mixed match between everybody that is buying, which they are all diverse, and the company creating the product, there's no diversity there, it become a huge issue in culture that hard to fix. Some companies have collapsed because of this. Yeah. So, what's your view, Nick, in this to bring more diversity in the tech companies? We there are a few big problems, like women are underrepresented, and they finding like 90% less money than men, regardless that they have good ideas. And still there are tech companies out there that very difficult to find more women. Which message do you have for these tech companies?
Sure. So first, let me start by stating IdeaScale's position on diversity, right? We don't hire somebody or not hire somebody based on what they look like or where they're from or what accents they have. In fact, 60 or 70% is about 60 or 70% of my staff globally would qualify as some form of minority, right? We have people from
Wow,
Bangladesh or
I
India,
love it.
South Africa, Europe,
Wow,
I'm the
amazing.
CEO of the company. I'm working in America. I'm an Indian and a Canadian and only became a US citizen last year. So we're an incredibly diverse company. And when we hire somebody, we're looking really for their skills. We often are the first round of our process is blind. We don't even get to see whether the person is male, female, identifying with a third gender or what they look like, which race they are, what country they're in, right? We have, if you ever hop on our town halls, we have people speaking with all sorts of accents with different levels of English competency, and that's okay. So, so let me kind of give advice to tech companies. Well, I'll address the problems of diversity. So there's two things that I think that are challenges. Number one is the subtle biases that happen during the hiring process. It's so easy to discriminate against someone because they don't look like you or because they have a funny accent. There's an easy solution to that. I don't know if you know how professional orchestras hire, but professional orchestras solve this problem by having blind screenings. They would have people play musical instruments behind a screen so the conductor couldn't see whether it was a male or female. And this resulted in dramatic levels of this started happening in the 1970s and 80s, and it roughly doubled or tripled in the amount of women and ethnic minorities hired. Because turns out, even if you don't want to, a good, well-meaning, unbiased person still has subtle biases. So the easiest thing you do is you just hide yourself from the identity of the person. You don't know their name, you don't know what they look like, you don't know where they're from, what they speak like. You just look at how good they are on paper and test their actual skills. That could be technical skills, marketing skills, musical skills. So that's number one. That's an easy to solve problem. That's how we actually, the first stage of our hiring process is totally blind. Literally, we have no idea what the person's name is, or what they look like, or where in the world they're from. And that's a solved problem. I'm surprised more companies don't do that, where they are, blindly, where the many stages of their processes are not blind or double blind hiring processes, because that's work. There's a lot of research behind this, right? That it works. It dramatically increases not only the diversity of hiring, but also you get better talent when you're not being biased either.
Absolutely, which is the whole point. The whole point of being
Yeah,
the company to hire better talent than you, to hire the best talent. Who
yeah.
cares who cares if they're
No,
women?
exactly. I
Who
don't
cares
care.
if
I just want
they're
I want
how
the
they
smartest,
look?
best.
Who's the
Yeah,
best?
I literally, as purely selfishly at IdeaScale, we just want the best people. I do not care if they are from South Africa or Japan or Bangladesh or Nebraska or Mexico. It doesn't matter. I want the best people. That way, I can provide the best product quality to my customers. The second thing is a little bit more difficult, which is on the technical side of things. So, in tech companies, a big term, right? We've got engineers, we've got marketers, we've got salespeople. Specifically solving the diversity problem in engineering is a little bit more difficult because that's a skill, and I can't hire an engineer who can't code or doesn't know algorithms, right? And that's what would be called, in things like a bit traditional business areas, marketing or sales, that's something that's reasonably quickly teachable. You can teach someone in 3 to 6 months how to be an okay marketer or a good salesperson. That's a lot more difficult in engineering, where you may have had to take, 5 or 6 years of college level mathematics and learn multiple programming languages. That's more difficult, and that's what in America we call the pipeline problem, where you have to solve it at a very early level of education, where you have to encourage a more diverse group of people to pursue STEM subjects, right? I studied physics and mathematics in my mathematics program. My college was 50-50 male female, but my mathematics program, there were 2 out of 30 women. So what is that? 115, 6.66%. Right? I was not a computer science major, but I think the ratio is reasonably similar. And that will naturally, if there's only 6.66% or 10% of, a specific group going into in a STEM field, that's what you will get. That's the number of PhDs you'll get. That's the number of computer engineers you'll get. So the recommendation is always continuously support people to pursue, to get educated early in the pipeline. For example, I'm not a parent yet, but I hope to be soon. And if I have daughters, I will encourage them to pursue their passions regardless of what the gender ratios and their subjects are. Hopefully in 10 or 20 years, that'll be less of a problem. But if it's not, I still want my daughters to have every open door available to them. And so I think that it begins at a parental level and it begins at an educational level. It's a really difficult, if not intractable problem for companies to solve in technical fields once a person's already matured into an adult.
And with that note, we're gonna conclude the podcast. Thank you so much, Nick, for your time. This podcast has been amazing. Went better than I thought. Yeah, you're amazing.
Thank you so much, Harry, for having me and for being an awesome host.
And for our audience, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable: How Brave Entrepreneurs like Nick break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.